Nice. All right. So let's go live.
Okay, awesome.
Live on workplace for Meta? What? Live on customer live streaming server? Oh, live on Facebook. Oh, I was like, what?
So many new things. So you good? You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Just do an intro and we'll just flow with it. Yeah.
Alpha for Facebook. Yes. Yeah. We're gonna talk a lot about the problems. What's my Facebook password? LUCK.
Um, let's see.
Did it change? No, it worked.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Yeah, it worked. Update password. I'll just get a yes in the group. I'm the worst with my passwords. Hey, today's gonna be a good day. Hello. Welcome to today's episode. So happy to be here with you all. Hey, Anna.
Hi, Marielle. Okay, I was just checking that we're live, so we're good.
Okay. Good. Because I'm excited. We have an awesome topic planned today. We're going to be talking about getting a yes from your ideal clients with every piece of content that you put out. Now, in a perfect world, wouldn't that be freaking amazing to get a yes from everyone?
For sure.
Now, this is a great topic because I really love the innocence of wanting that. Like, when you're first getting started in your business, every time in your business, you're like putting out this piece of content that you created, whether, you had a dream and then you were inspired to say something, or you're going deep into your knowledge pocket, right? Into your wisdom pocket. And you're like, I'm feeling super generous. I'm going to share all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then you do it and nothing happens. And you're like, what the? And no one says anything. People just ignore you. And so in the name of consistency, sometimes you go out and you do it again. Right? So welcome to today's episode, because we're going to talk about all things, pretty, not so pretty, kind of painful, that has to do with getting your audience to say yes to you, getting people to raise their hand for you and sign up with you and get the transformation that they want through you. And I think that a lot of people, when we first start out in the coaching space or the expert space or an online business even, I see a lot of people going into the online space because they think it's actually really easy, Anna.
Mm-hmm. That was
excuse me. Yeah, I mean, it looks so easy. All you have to do is get on social media and post, and you wake up looking great and you know exactly what to say, and it's just about posting and getting some followers, and boom, you've hit the pinnacle of success.
Or running ads too, Marielle, because I've done that also.
Yeah. And I love my ads, but if you don't do it right,
yes,
it can be a disaster.
Yeah. So what's usually going on? I know you're going to go there, but what is usually going on when we don't get responses? So we're talking about messaging angles today, right?
Right. Messaging. We're going to be talking about messaging angles. We're going to be talking about how to share a fresh perspective with your audience, and not just for them, but for yourself. Because if you can't get yourself to like sharing, if it's a hard, if it's just like that part of your job that you're dragging your feet through, then it sucks. It's not sustainable. And we're also going to talk about how to get your audience to see you as the solution. And yeah, so we're gonna go deep into this, because we've already talked a little bit about all some of the problems, and what it feels like to share content, and have everyone just kind of snooze through it. But when you do create content from the right place with the right stuff, then you really do get people to raise their hand for you, and you really do get people to engage. And that's when you start getting those awesome emails and DMs, and people thanking you, and people saying, what else do you have? How can you help me? And that's when you know that you've done a great job with your content, when you get people raising their hand for you without you having to chase them on the DM, or having to engage with them constantly and build a connection, which nothing wrong with that. But who's got time to do that? Yeah. You're always reminding me about what's going on inside of my own messages. Marielle, did you check this yet? Because I'm busy coaching clients, and coaching our
mastermind. The other thing for that too, Marielle, is that when they get the messaging right, I've noticed this on my own when it comes to when I started working with you, is that the algorithm will also respond to the right content and the right message, right? Because if let's say, for example, if it's just Facebook and your friends are starting to notice or starting to respond to your post, they're reacting to it, they're commenting on it, Facebook is actually going to organically boost the exposure of that post. And so Facebook's thinking, oh, this actually is resonating with a lot of people. So they're all about user experience, right? And so they want to boost that post to the right people. It's like, oh, these kinds of people like this specific post, so let's boost this to the similar people.
Totally. And that's the secret, right? So as like Facebook can be sometimes a pain in the ass, and we're like, the algorithm, but really, let's dumb it down. They just want to keep people on there longer. And if they can keep you on there longer, then they make money, everyone's happy, right? So it is in their best interest to put your content in front of the people that they think are going to really like it, right? So absolutely, that's a huge piece of it. But it's really hard. Like, Anna, what was one of the things that was really like hard for you in terms of like creating this kind of content that you were like, well, I thought I was supposed to do this, but then I realized I wasn't doing it wrong?
Yeah, the toughest part for me was not teaching. And you showed me that there's the right time to teach and there's the wrong time to teach, but I was teaching constantly.
Yeah.
So that was, for me, was one of the biggest things that helped me a lot. Among many other things, there's a lot of like deeper stuff that you teach in your course and your weekly calls, but that was like the light bulb moment for me. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been doing this for like the last, 14 years.
Well, it's not your fault, because it is something, teaching is like a knee-jerk reaction for most experts and coaches. Like, I think that a lot of experts and coaches and therapists, doctors, you have like that archetype within you. The teacher archetype lives within you, and it's easy, and you want to share, and you have a big heart. So it's easy to go into that. And It's also it also follows the idea that that's been implanted into our brain by the marketing gurus who say you have to deliver value. You
Mm-hmm.
have to deliver value. You have to give people an aha moment,
Yeah.
and so teach them your best stuff, you know. And I have to say that might have worked 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but it just doesn't work anymore. And it's, you know, I feel kind of mixed about that, because yes, giving people value is what you want to do. Absolutely. But it doesn't just happen through teaching, and highly sophisticated messaging and marketing does not teach.
Yeah.
So the kind of messaging created by the pros is not about teaching. It goes a little bit deeper than that. And that's why I fell in love with it, right? Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you've seen inside of, like, for example, the communication module, it's like we go really deep into what does work. So teaching what it does, besides, you know, when this is right now, it's 2023, October 4th, 2023. Think about it. Like, we've been through crazy years, right? Since 2020, everyone and their grandmom got online. Everyone's dancing for everyone else. It's busy. You know, everyone's
Very.
teaching.
Yeah.
It's a busy, busy space. It's noisy. So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, yeah, obviously it was out there, but it wasn't as busy as it is today. So when we go into teaching in such a crowded market, it's so easy for even like the golden nuggets to get lost in the shuffle and get put into the internet junk pile.
Yeah.
Even though it's gold, even though it's just like people's attention spans are so small, and it's so busy, and they're driving, and there's kids in the back, and, you know, a client or lack of clients is stressing you out. You know, there's just, so that doesn't mean though that it can't be done. It just
Yeah.
means that you have to learn how to do it a little bit differently. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So getting a yes from people really breaks down into a couple of different things. I think the first thing that I'd love to talk about and to share a little bit more about, this is something that really gets, it doesn't get noticed at all. It's like, where are they? Where is your audience in the customer journey with you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I like to say, if you are if you're going out on a first date, like, are you going to tell that person all of your childhood trauma? Maybe, maybe not, right? But for the most part, especially if you're like on those apps, you know, you're going, at least this is what I hear from friends, right? Like, they're going, it's like a full-time job. It's like a
Yeah.
numbers game, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably like 1% of the population or less is going to be someone you actually have chemistry with and feel like you've known them forever.
Yes.
The rest, you know, you're getting to know each other. And
Mm-hmm.
in the first date, you're kind of trying to see if this person is trustworthy. Is this person someone I would like to share a second meal with? It's all about that trust. Is
Yeah,
this
you don't
person
share all the deep stuff on the first day.
No, because your mind is really just going to like trust. Like, can I
Yeah.
trust this person? Is this person normal?
Yeah.
Like, is this
Yeah.
person trustworthy? And that's because our ego is designed that way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, our very first milestone is, do I trust this person enough to XYZ? So
Yeah.
that kind of content is really different
Yes.
than the kind of content that I share, for example, inside of our goddess circle.
Yeah.
Like, I could never share that content outside.
No, because they're not gonna have a deeper understanding of it either. Like they won't have a context. And with your going with your date example, the first date example, they're gonna think you're cuckoo. If you're showing stuff, it's like, what the?
100%. They're gonna be like, oh my God, this girl is so intense.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, oh, that's gonna be too much work.
Yeah.
I mean, but think about it in that example, like that's gonna be too much work. If you are
Oh, yeah.
teaching and you are going down the rabbit hole with people on the first date, they don't know you, like you, or trust you yet. And you're talking about like, I don't know, Anna, like we talk about really deep stuff. So some of the stuff we talk about, like, can you imagine me talking about that at the very, I like to call it the top of the funnel, right?
Yeah.
Like, that would really intimidate some people, but
Yeah.
not everyone. Some people, they would totally gravitate towards that.
Right.
Right. And so when we're creating messaging, I think it's really important to understand, like, what is the temperature of my audience? Like, what do I want? And this is where I feel like it's really powerful to take a step back and use those visualization powers that we all have. Like most of us, when we're just starting, we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall. We're just hoping this strategy is something that's going to stick, right? But what if you could really sit back and say, okay, what does this process look like archetypally? Like, what do I want them to say? Like, what does it feel like to have people that don't know me, like me, or trust me yet? Like, what do I want them to feel when they get in touch with one of my videos or podcasts or whatever, right?
That's such a great question to ask and like go into meditation with.
Yeah. I think it's a very underutilized skill, but it's probably one of the most powerful ones. I mean, I can teach you all these, like, okay, here's your suffering persona, and here is like all the geeky elements of messaging. But one of the most powerful ones is really trying to get in touch with what that looks like and feels like. I remember when I first started back in the day, I used to have this visualization, this vision of a garden. And it was this garden where there were all these seeds and there were all these flowers blossoming, and the flowers were my clients. And the garden was long, and and I couldn't see the end of the garden. It was just full of flowers. And that became the visual in my mind, that every time I created a video, and I started my coaching career, I should say, my first group coaching program, what I used were videos. I used to create these tiny little videos. I had a small audience. I've never been like, I need to be famous. It's just never been me, nothing wrong with it. But I had a tiny audience. So I just created videos for them all the time, holding the visual in my mind that of that garden. Right. And just having that faith that it was going to reach the right flowers, and the right flowers were going to blossom at the right time.
That's so good. That's so good. The other thing too, so I love that visual. I highly recommend that everyone who's watching either live or replay does that thing. But also, before you started talking about that visual, when I was a beginner meditator, I didn't know there was all these different techniques or strategies or ways that you can do meditation, right? I didn't know that you can use it for business or for visualizing your clients or whatever. And sometimes, especially at the beginning, you tend to kind of doubt the visions that you get. Like, did I just make that up? So, but it's like real. I mean, it generates that feeling. That's what we're after, right? That's what you mentioned in visualization. It's like, what does that feeling do when you see those flowers bloom in the garden? And then how do you have your potential clients feel that through your videos, through your content,
Well, that's a really loaded question, which is why I love having you here with me all the time. I guess the first thing I want to talk about is like, how do I know that vision is real and I didn't just make this shit up, right?
Yeah.
Because, okay, so a long time ago, I read this book, and it was like one thing stuck to me about the book, and it was just like, it had a lot to do with visualization, and that was one of the questions, like, how do you know you're making something up? And the answer he gave was, well, it came from somewhere within you, so making it up from where? Right? So I loved that, because I was like, well, yeah, maybe I made this shit up, but it's coming from somewhere within me. So the question becomes like, why and where is it coming from within me? And then we can go down the rabbit hole, because it can be coming from my ego. It can be coming from my higher self. It can be coming from, I don't know, something negative, but it's coming from somewhere. So it takes me to the next step. Like, where do you create your stuff from? Are you creating it from a place of ego? Are you creating it from a place of faith and truth? And we're not going to talk about that today, because we'll be here all day. But where you are as a human being matters when you are meditating, when you are getting in touch with the people that you are here to serve, even if it's energetically. Like, are you energetically clear? Right? Because I mean, there are people that see things that aren't necessarily, there's all kinds of like crazy stuff going on in the world. I'm not going to say that all of that is real or not. I don't know. That's not the point of this. But where your visions come from matters. And so that's a really good question to ask ourselves, right? Like, where am I energetically and spiritually? Am I aligned? I teach you all in the course, our higher power hour.
Yeah.
And I do that for a reason, because if you can get yourself in a higher state of being while you're working, right before you're meditating, you're going to get in touch with with truth. And then you'll be able to trust the garden that you saw, or the farm you saw, or whatever. So anyways, we just went off on a little spiritual tangent there.
That was the first one. And Laura said she's guilty of teaching. So you're not the only one, Laura.
Yeah. So wait. So that was only half of your question. What was the other part of your question?
That was your first point. I know you had other ones that you have prepared.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit about messaging angles. So your angle is really going to come from it's going to be measured or dependent on where your audience is with you. So, for example, this podcast is recorded live inside of our Facebook group, right? The Bold, Brave, and Brilliant on Camera Facebook group. Now, if you're inside of my Facebook group, it's because you probably purchased something, right? Yes. And so we're no longer on the first date.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel really comfortable doing in-depth workshops in here, because you've already said yes to something else. So it really does come down to understanding and knowing your audience without overly niching.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I could not create the product that someone said yes to if I didn't know who that client was and what their needs are and what their desires are and where my expertise really aligns within that. And
Yeah.
that's the key.
Yeah.
And I know that, so really understanding that your messaging has to take into account the temperature of your audience, then you're going to be able to take on an angle, any kind of angle.
And how well do you know them? That was one of the things that I had trouble with.
Mm-hmm.
One, I was not clear as to what my area of expertise is, because I was kind of like in this transition limbo kind of thing.
Yeah.
It felt like hell sometimes.
Yeah, it does.
But when we started talking about working with fitness studio owners, that still is like such a huge industry.
Right.
Even like when I narrowed it down to like, okay, yoga and Pilates studio owners, it was still pretty big. And it ended up with just Pilates studio owners, actually. And even those two studio owners, they're very different. And then what I thought they needed is not what they needed.
I know, don't you hate that?
Yeah.
And that's the part where we have to do our research, right? And I am not a big fan of doing research, to be quite frank with you. I feel like if you're going to do the research, you have to be very specific about the questions you ask. And you really have to get people on camera with you and like a real interview and say, hey, would you spare 30 minutes and I'll give you a free coaching session or something, right? But having them in person and then have your little note taker so that the whole thing's being transcribed and all of that stuff. This is gold, by the way. That's a really good way to actually get to the truth. Now, I used to teach sales, and I always taught that in order to get the truth, you have to ask the same question 3 times, maybe in 3 different ways. Because the first time you'll never get the truth. You'll just get they'll tell you what they think you want to hear.
Give me an example.
Well, I don't know. Let's see.
So let's say I'm on the other side of the sales call, and I'm like, that's too expensive.
Okay. All right. So you just said that your goal is to make $10,000 by the end of the year, monthly. Like, you really want to get to that consistently, right?
Yes.
So, and you also said that if you don't get to that goal, you're not going to be able to send your second child to private school, right?
Yes.
So what do you think it's costing you to not have this thing taken care of?
A lot more than $10,000 or however much you're charging.
So let me add, and the reason I ask you this is because I want to make sure that I'm fully answering your questions, and sometimes we really don't know sometimes what those questions are, but let me ask you, like, is there anything else that's getting in your way of saying yes? Not to me. I mean, it could be to somebody else, but is there anything else that's getting in your way of saying yes to something that can help you reach those goals?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to say to my husband. This is just another expense, like, oh my gosh, you spend this much money again on this thing.
There you go. That's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
So you just keep doing that. But I mean, we just went down the rabbit hole again.
Right.
We're talking about sales.
It's always fun.
Yeah, it is. But when you're doing these interviews to really find out what they need, you have to keep digging if you're going to do interviews. I have other ways of finding the truth, within your clients. But if you're going to do interviews, that's a really good way. So And that's one of the hard things, Anna, that when you're first starting out, it is a lot of trial and error. So can you imagine going through the trial and error completely by yourself with no mastermind to help you, no one to say, hey, have you thought about this? Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine? Like, this
That's
is
the,
why
well,
people
I
fail.
can because I've been in that situation. Okay,
Yeah.
so I just want to share this. Before I found you,
Mhm.
ultimately, I'm an implementer. I'm like an action taker,
Yes, you
right?
are.
So when I have an idea, it's like, oh, that's a really good idea. And I am techie, so like I create the sales page, whatever, right? I
Mhm.
can do all of that. So it's like, I'll do it and test it that way. But working with you, I start to kind of like think ahead, like, is this the best way to do this?
Mhm.
Am I doing this the right way? Because I got tired of troubleshooting on my own and
Yeah.
doing things from my own understanding. And so that's why, like, you do your calls twice a week. I'm always there whenever I can, as much as possible. Because it's so valuable to me to like not have to do all the upfront work and then have all my time and effort go to waste.
I know it's easy. I mean, you are an implementer, big time, which is one of your gifts.
Yeah.
It's one of your strengths. I mean, you go straight to work. So the other part of that is like the strategy, right? Like really
Yes.
understanding the strategy. But it's also hard when you're first getting started because the strategy, you have to either follow someone's blueprint or someone's strategy or
Yeah.
go out and test things on your own.
Mhm.
But when you move a little bit further along, you start helping more clients and more clients and more clients, then it starts to you start getting pushed to the right strategy that works for your lifestyle, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's so important to create from both inspiration and strategy. I
Yes.
always say that, like, you have to create from inspiration, but also from strategy. And strategy includes doing your research and going outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
What about those clients that didn't sign up with you? That there's a reason why they didn't sign up with you.
Yeah.
It's not always money.
Hmm.
Sometimes, but they're not going to tell you unless you ask. And you're not going to ask unless you have enough courage to ask.
Yeah.
So
It's
you
so it's
kind
understanding what they don't need and what they do need and what the real reasons are also, like all of those.
that goes into all of those things exactly. Because the reasons that they didn't sign up, we call those objections, right?
Mhm.
And like, this, when you're creating an irresistible offer or anything, you have to understand what their objections are going to be anyway, right? And that helps you create our next thing, fresh content. If
Yeah.
so see how you really don't have time to teach when your messaging is powerful. You just don't. People's attention span is so short. You have to be able to give them breakthroughs in different ways.
Mhm.
It's an art, but it is an art. I mean, it's the art of sophisticated messaging, but it's also a really soulful, which is why I love it so much. I think it's a really soulful process. You have to honor and understand the subconscious mind, and at the same time, it's a lot of responsibility
Yeah.
because if there's a lot of marketers out there that they just want a yes. So you can't just get a yes at any cost.
Yes.
That's wrong.
Totally. Totally.
You can't just
That
get a
Netflix
yes.
documentary you were chatting about that one time about oxycodone.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
What a good example. That's a really good example. They just wanted a yes at any cost. They didn't care what it did. So it's always a process, right? Like knowing what content works, what content doesn't work, what does your audience resonate with, what do they not resonate with. My ads team, I have the most amazing team, and right now we're putting together a new workshop, and it's been in the works for a while. But that's also like shit. Like I'm just kind of sharing a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes in my business. I don't just create shit just to create it, because I value doing it once and having it do the work for me.
Yes.
Right. So sometimes I can fall under that that a little bit of a perfectionism, you know, but that's not right either. But one thing that we're doing is we're testing different angles. And how do you test it? Well, you have Facebook ads, you have all these different opportunities to test an angle, or which, you know, could be a headline or a piece of content, put it in front of a specific audience and see how much they resonate with it, you know. And when you're doing that, then you're creating based on the data. Because something that, and this always happens, what I think they're going to love, they never love. It's the shit that I'm like, really? You want to know? Okay, fine. I'll teach you about that. But
Totally.
And it usually happens because it's like your blind spots, the things that you take for granted that you think are so simple and that everybody knows. It's amazing how sometimes those are the things that people really want to know about. And those are sometimes the things that you're really good at. That's like your zone of genius, but it's so you're so good at it, and it's in your zone of genius. So it's just like, it becomes like, well, duh, everyone should know that, right? Oh, you don't know that? What? That's weird. Okay, sure, I'll teach you that. So testing different angles. So you can do it by, like I said, getting a few people on to talk to you about it. I mean, on like a quick Zoom. And then the other thing is, you know, testing things with, when I talk about like testing things, I'm talking about $5 a day, nothing crazy. Like we just want to get some data. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah. I've even done it on my stories, for example, for the ebook that I wrote. It's like, hey, this title or this title.
Yeah.
And like, and I even like sort of like family group chat, like, hey, you know, what do you think? And then I asked my 8-year-old daughter and my husband and my mother-in-law, it's like, hey, what do you think? You know, so you can even do, I mean, they're not your target market, but like in my case, this book is more like a general kind of weight lossy thing. So I think more people can relate, but you know, stories are great for that, or even your Facebook feed if you have.
Oh yeah, stories are good. I mean, you can ask people questions and they get to vote, and you know, I love that. I love that. But I do have to say that, like, asking mother-in-laws is usually not a good idea.
Hopefully not.
Well, I mean, it's not the case in my case, but I'm just saying, like, the stories I hear from people, like, they get, if you have a good family to share this with and that are supportive, like, my God, that's gold.
Yeah, I love my mother-in-law. We're cool.
That is awesome.
Laura said inspiration and strategy. Great takeaway. I've been running on pure inspiration. Yeah, I totally get that, Laura.
Yeah. Inspiration. The trick is, and I guess this is a really valid point. People will give you a yes when they feel connected with you.
Yeah.
When they feel like they've been looking for this specific aspect that you have.
Yes.
They may not care how long you've been doing this for. They will find the money to hire you. But really understanding what makes you unique is really important, which is why we do a ton of archetypal work. Like, what are your archetypes? And, you know, are you speaking through the through the filter of those archetypes? Or are you just speaking like whatever? But when you understand what makes, I'll give you a good example. So, and this was just a reminder yesterday in one of our calls in our Goddess Circle. Rosalind said, you know, the only reason I signed up with you, Marielle, is because I was looking for someone that really understood spirituality at my level, but I needed them to know marketing as well. So I was looking for that. So when you said modern mystics, I was in, right?
Yeah.
So that, yes, that goes back to knowing your audience, but it really goes back to knowing yourself.
Yes.
Like, who are you and what makes you unique? You know, I remember at the beginning of my career, I was working with a lot of healers, and my coach at that time, he said, you're never going to make money. This, like, healers don't invest in themselves. And I was like, I hope that's not true. Because that's where my expertise was, right? Like, I understand transformation and healing. I have a big passion for it. I've had a passion since I was a kid in it. So it was my favorite thing to talk about. So I was hoping that was not the case, but like, and that's why it goes back to knowing yourself and knowing your archetype and knowing your zone of genius and excellence, like knowing that and picking that audience and sticking to it. So you have to have enough passion for that. Because had I picked like accountants, no, no judgment, but like, I know they have more money and whatever. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It would be showing up on my calls and everything would be a drag.
Yeah.
For me. There's no fucking way I could do it. Again, I love my accountant. Please don't.
Or lawyers.
Or lawyers. I actually have had a couple of lawyers who are really amazing, like spiritual. So it's not about that, right? It's the inner element that I need.
Yes.
I've worked with all kinds of people now, but it's that inner element. So know yourself so that you know what you bring to the table, and then pick that ideal audience. It all goes hand in hand. It's like this straight line that needs to be aligned.
Sometimes the line is not so straight.
No, you're right. Sometimes it takes you going like this, up, down, in order to find that line.
But that's also a great journey to be on when you're looking to know yourself a little bit more, right?
And what else is there?
Yeah, exactly.
I think everyone on this planet is on a journey to getting to know themselves better, whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
That's like the ultimate, like, mystical truth. Know thyself.
Yeah, and like the more that you know yourself, then know that your messaging will resonate with the people that you're meant to work with. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the more you know yourself, the more energy, the more faith you're going to have.
Yeah.
The more creativity, the more you're going to trust, the more you're going to have the stamina to build your digital empire. And it takes stamina. I like to work, and I tell my clients, like, especially a lot of them are like not all of them, but especially in my entry level mastermind, they're starting, they've been working with clients coaching wise for about 2 years. They kind of new, right? Or they're transitioning from being a therapist to the online world. So you may be in business for a long time, but you're kind of new to this thing. Yeah. So to start off with, it does take considerable stamina.
Yeah.
When you're first getting started. That's why I say everything's going to take work. So you have to make a decision that, are you going to put in the work now, or are you okay putting the work in as you go?
Yeah. I've always said work smarter, not harder, and yet I don't always do it that way. Just like I mentioned earlier, because that initial work, when you're doing the right work, it doesn't matter if you're doing the right work or not, but any new thing, right, is gonna take more energy to get going. It's like pushing a car up a hill
Yeah.
at the
I feel that way.
beginning, and then you reach that kind of peak, and then you hit that top where it's like it's about to go down, and then it goes fast without you pushing it. It's kind of like
Yeah,
that, but you have
it
to get
is.
over that hump, as they say.
You have to get over the hump. And when you get over the hump, you start realizing that the thing that you achieved, like getting to the top, becomes your new normal.
Yeah.
And it really has to do with our mindset and our inner evolution. When you evolve on the inside, and this is why I can scream at the top of my lungs, and sometimes I get hurt and sometimes I don't, but when you start reaching the next level of who you are on the inside, the outside has to catch up. Like
Yeah.
the right strategy falls in your lap. You actually hear something that your coach says and you're like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So that's what helps you get to that top. And then, because I've seen this actually, and have proven this to myself, that it's all about me getting to a certain level of comfort with that new level of success. And when I get to that new level, when that becomes my new normal, like it's like, oh, I can do that in my sleep. That's when I know that internally I have grown to that level. That's my next plateau. So then there's
Yeah.
always a next level and a next level and a next level. And the next level isn't always necessarily about going up. Sometimes you stay at one level, but you explore horizontally.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you're not growing. You're just learning the richness of that level and the
I
different
love that.
colors and the different sounds in that level. And that's still growth. So I don't believe in like always more. More is not always more.
Yeah. Sometimes more is deeper.
Sometimes more is deeper. It's just going deeper into something, and really it's all about inner growth. So if you're going deeper and that's helping you grow and see new aspects of yourself, then by God, you are successful. You
Yeah.
are living the dream.
Yes. That's so good. That's so good, because in the regular world,
The
we're so
regular world.
trained. We're trained to just like more money, more material things. And actually, I was having this conversation with my sister-in-law, and I love her too, but like she doesn't get the less is more kind of concept when it comes to like I'm not into shopping, and she's into shopping. It's like I shop everywhere, and I'm not a shopper at all, but for her that's like therapy, right? So it's like, in the real world, we value the material growth, like the
Right.
tangible growth that we are trained to think
That's the
is
society
growth.
we live in. I
Yes.
mean, society tells us that that's what success looks like.
Yeah.
And we are brainwashed at every single step of our human journey. So it really takes you taking a deep breath and saying, hey, I feel really fucking good today. And
Yeah.
I haven't, like in right here, right now. So yeah, it's true. It's true. More is not always more. More sometimes is bad. And sometimes more is great.
Yes.
Like I just recently moved to my new house and I can't get enough of being on the water. I can't.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, this is cool. Like I get to step outside every single day. And yesterday my husband caught he was trying to crab out there, like go crabbing, and he caught an eel.
Oh my God.
And it was so ugly. I was like, ew, I love eating eel, but I don't want it there. And so yeah, we're thinking that the eel is eating our crabs.
Oh
So
no.
but it's like enjoying that
Yeah.
and not feeling like the other shoe's gonna drop. Like
Yes.
it will drop. Everything inevitably drops in one way or the other. So why not
Right.
enjoy what you have,
For sure. Okay, so let's bring this home. We have like
Yes,
7 minutes before our next call.
let's do it.
So go ahead and like summarize this or give us parting words for this episode.
Yes. So the way that you're going to get a yes from every single one of your clients is you really do have to learn how to talk about your thing. You have to learn the art of messaging. And the art of messaging is not about teaching. It's about understanding what you bring to the table that's unique and really understanding who they are. And learning how to give them the breakthroughs that they need. You can do that by asking yourself. I mean, this is one thing that I can go really deep into teaching, but ask yourself, what did they have to believe in order to have created this mistake? And then address the belief. Because you don't have to teach them anything. Just tell them what they're believing incorrectly. Like learn how to, like a lot of my clients are coaches, and you understand coaching and belief systems and mindset. So that's a really good way to get started.
Yeah.
And again, if you know what you are looking for from them at the very top of the funnel, when they don't know you, like you, or trust you, versus inside of your group where they're really warm, or maybe they already bought something from you, so they're really warm. Like understand that. I'd love to give you all the answers right now, but not only can we not do it because Anna said we only had 5 minutes, but it's an art. Messaging is an art, and it's an art that every entrepreneur really does need to understand. You won't be able to fix it by just by hiring a copywriter. You're still going to have to know how to design your messaging. So value messaging, and stop giving away your stuff for free.
Yeah. Totally. Stop giving your stuff away for free. Definitely. That's so good. Okay. Stacy said, yeah, we get to define more for ourselves. I love that, Stacy. Cool. So
awesome. So yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you had something to say.
So I mean, there's people watching listening on the podcast, because I know this is a podcast episode as well. So where can they get more of you?
Yes. Let's go ahead, and if you'd like to join our live sessions, where do we do them? Inside of our Facebook group. That's a really good place to start. We do these every Wednesday, not every week, but for the most part, every week or every other week. But I also have other workshops in there and other opportunities for you to learn more stuff as you go, so that you can get your own breakthroughs. And when you're ready to learn and dive deep into messaging, and we have an opening in our mastermind, we notify you and all of that fun stuff. So I think the best thing to do is to really join our Facebook group.
Yeah.
And I would love to see you all in there. And thank you all for joining us, for joining Anna and myself. We always love having these in-depth conversations. And, I'll leave you with this. When you have the right content, it's going to be fun. It's going to be sustainable, and you're going to feel energized to share. It's like today, like this podcast, right? Like I love doing this with you. Like, I love the questions you ask. And sometimes I do it on my own and I still love it, but because you're talking about things that you actually care about and
Yeah.
love. So that's how it always should feel.
An hour later, we're still here and we're still
I
having fun.
know.
That's how you know.
I know we have to actually get onto our business Q&A mastermind call. So we will leave you all with that. Have an amazing rest of your day and be blessed. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.